Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 2019 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, Town of Carmel. Board members' names are in front of you on the podium. Town Code Enforcement Officer Mike Carnaz is with us, and Town Council Greg Fulchetti should be here shortly. The way we operate is I'll ask you to come up. I'll swear you in if you're going to be speaking, unless you're a lawyer. And then we'll hear the case. We'll ask any questions, and I'll ask for any input from the public. If there's any report back and council wants to, we'll give you an opportunity to report back if any issues come up. So once we close the hearing, though, there'll be no further input from the public on an application, so bear that in mind. And I did mention I'll swear you in when you come to the podium. Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first case tonight is number 1, Catherine Vesci, for a variation of section 156.15, seeking permission to retain an existing shed. Property is located at 62 Bucks Hollow Road, Hopac, New York, 10541, tax map 75.2-1-47. Come on up. And you're representing?
Yes, Joseph Rizzo.
Sorry, state your name and address.
Joseph Rizzo, R-I-Z-Z-O,
What's your address?
70 Bucks Hollow Road.
All right, raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Excuse me, John. This is the neighbor, I believe, right?
Correct.
I think we usually have Mrs. Vesci up first.
You're not here representing Mrs. Vesci?
Actually, yes, I am. She's
Oh, I'm
out of
sorry.
state
I'm sorry.
right now.
Yeah, no.
I apologize.
It says.
I thought you were a neighbor. I apologize. Sorry.
No, his name is,
Sorry about that. I didn't realize.
Okay, Mr. Rizzo, bring us through the situation here.
Well, actually, her shed has been there for like 50 years. Supposedly, it's 4 feet from the property line. We need 10 feet. The variance, she's asking for a variance for that 6 feet.
Did she not know she needed a permit for this, or?
I believe she filed all the paperwork she needed to. She just asked me to kind of step in today to...
No, originally, when she first purchased it.
Not that I know of. I mean, like,
She was
again,
unaware.
I've been living at 70 Bucks Hollow Road for 20 years. That shed has been there prior to me.
Okay,
So I have
it's
no
been a
idea.
while.
John, she's selling the house. When we did the municipal search, this came up. We checked the date. It was not pre-55. It was right around there, though, so that's where the problem was.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's in good shape. It's pretty meticulous and well kept, and it looks like it's screened pretty well from...
Yeah, actually, it looks like a little dollhouse. It's,
Yeah, it's beautiful. And obviously, we have a neighbor that's in favor of it.
You're the next door neighbor?
yes.
All right. Enough said. Now, any input from the public, from the board members?
You're the most directly affected by this?
I...
It's on your side, right next to you?
No, not really.
No?
It's on the opposite side of my property.
Okay.
But-
But do you know of the other neighbor being in agreement, or?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, her property is like pristine. So both my property and the other property, look like dumps compared to her.
Well, it is well screened, so that's fine.
That doesn't mean that you guys have to come and look at my property.
Good sheds make good neighbors.
No questions, thank you.
All right.
No question.
No questions? No questions.
All right, any input from the public on this application? All right, I'll look for a motion to close the hearing on this one.
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, second application tonight is Kramer. And this is for variation of section 15615, seeking permission to construct a second-floor addition to existing dwelling. Property is located at 22 Finney Drive, Carmel, New York, 10512. Tax map 5414-1-31. You are?
Tom Nugent, representing the Kramers,
Tom, your address, please, for the record.
79 Austin Road, Mayapack.
Right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. Bring us through it.
This was before the board before for a
Tom,
variance?
just do me a favor, speak clearly into the mic, because it's being recorded for
Okay.
minutes.
I'm sorry. they were before this board before, I think, but in 2008.
Just turn it up. I don't know if that's on or not.
Sorry. And they got a variance back then, but it expired. So they want to renew it. The variance is for the rear yard, which is, the rear yard's only 8 feet, but there's acres of trees behind the house, and I think that's probably why they granted the variance. I don't know, but I wasn't there, but so that's it. They want to renew it. I have
Right, so you're going up on the same footprint as
same footprint.
portion of the house, right?
Yeah, it's the same plan as before, the same architectural
Yeah, just
plan.
the-
Everything's the
just the,
same.
Basically, the left side, the front and the garage is still remaining the same. You just put a new roof on it, according to your architecturals?
Yes, in the garage, I think is, yeah. Let me just check. Just an attic, a new roof, a steeper roof over the garage.
All right, and it's pretty well screened in the back. Have they talked to their neighbors?
They have.
No issues or concerns?
No problems from the
And
neighbors.
there's no other property that you can buy to bring it into conformance or anything, right? Or they can buy to bring it into conformance?
Right,
So again, you're just basically going straight up.
exactly.
Okay. Board members, any questions?
Looks like our predecessors already approved this in the
Yeah.
past,
And it expired after 2 years.
and then they didn't build. Is that right?
Expired after 2 years, so.
Yeah, they don't do anything with it, so.
It's in the same footprint. Yeah, no further questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No questions, thank you.
No
Okay, thank you.
questions?
Thank you.
All right, any input from the public on this application? Questions or concerns? Okay. Motion to close the hearing on this
So
application?
moved.
Second?
Seconded by Rose. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, application 3, Giuseppe Giamo, for a variation of section 15615, seeking permission to retain an existing shed closer than allowed to the side yard. Property is located at 11 Timber Trail, Carmel, New York, 10512, tax map 77.13-2-12.
I believe that's Willie Basharat, but I don't see him here.
here.
Okay. Mr. Giamo? No?
No.
Okay.
Could we hold
All right,
this over to
I'll
the
make a
end?
motion to at least hold it for now.
Yeah, we can just skip to the next item on the agenda. We'll revisit them.
All right, yeah, we'll skip the agenda.
I guess
All right.
everyone else is here for this.
So, folks, we're going to hold off on that one. And then the final application tonight is number 4 for the Willowwood Country Club Incorporated. And for variation of section 156-24.d, I'm not going to read all this, but seeking permission to obtain a variance for below parking, access drive dimensions, requirements for the existing parking lot in association with an amendment or amended site application pending before the planning board. Property is located at 551 Union Valley Road, Carmel, New York. Tax map 87.7-1-6, 7, and 11. Okay, are you all going to be speaking tonight?
We both will, yes.
And
My
you
name
guys-
is George Calcanini. I'm an attorney, but I'm also the secretary of Willowwood Gun Club.
Okay, so I don't need to swear you
I'm
in.
also a member of the board of directors, and I'm also the chairman of the Sporting Clays operations there at Willowwood.
Okay, ma'am?
Hi. Dawn Lewis McKenzie from Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture. We're the project engineers.
Okay, I'm going to swear you in. Right, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay. Bring us through the situation.
Yes, we filed an application for an amendment of our site plan to approve the cart path for the Sporting Clays course. In connection with that, the building inspector raised an issue about parking. Because we are considered a country club, the rules applicable to country clubs apply in terms of parking. And
Just do me a favor, speak into the mic.
And because we're a membership corporation operating the facility there and have been operating there since 1955 as a gun club, and we currently have 200 members. We're planning on increasing that to 250. So the code requires 2 for each family membership. That would be 500, and 1 for each of the employees, which would put us at 502. That's one of the, so we need a variance. The parking plan that has been submitted shows 80 spaces, including the handicapped spaces, which is more than adequate for our needs. While we've been doing this, we actually prepared a parking study and had our employee, every day that we're open, going out on the hourly basis, counting the number of cars that are parked in our lot. I have the raw data for that if you would like that, but because there's a sheet for every day, and we've drafted since February 14th through, I have the graph here, through June 28th. And if I may step around and speak to this, what we have here is the number of parking spaces, and we capped this off at 36 because we've never had more than 36 cars in the parking lot since we've been doing this parking study.
I was going to ask, is that mostly on the weekends when that occurs?
We are open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday each week. So the dates that we're open are going across the bottom. And the red line here shows the lowest number of cars on a daily basis. The blue line is the maximum number of cars that are parked in the lot during that period of time. We were operating the sporting clays course for a period of time, roughly half that period of time. And you can see during the period of time we studied, we've never had more than 36 cars in the parking lot at any one time.
And what time of year was that again?
It runs from February 14th through June 28th. So this graphically shows that the 80 parking spaces we show on our plans
It's more than adequate.
is way more than we actually need.
And this study was done by who? I'm sorry.
I had our employee, our grounds employee, go out every hour and prepare that raw data. And I have the data here. And what he did was, each hour, he would go out and count the number of cars in the lot. So I used, for each day, the lowest number and the highest number. Lowest is graphed on the red line, the blue line is the highest number.
Did you have any events during that time?
Yes, yes.
So when you bring the
peak
other
would be-
people in?
The peak would be during an event.
Okay, I just was wondering, I didn't know how that.
Right,
So that would be that day, that 36-car day.
correct.
Do you see more usage in the summer?
Um,
Because that's sort of missing
it
July
would-
and
it would-
August.
Our club is sort of counterintuitive on that, because during the summer is the height of the season. Our club is probably unlike most of the other clubs. Our club caters to the competition shooter. And during the season, like right now, in fact, I'm supposed to be in Rochester right now competing in the New York State Championship, and I'll be leaving here tonight, driving to Rochester. Many of our club members are up in Rochester right now. So it's counterintuitive, because during the best weather, our shooters are away at events almost every weekend. So in that sense, it's counterintuitive. We really are practicing the most during the off-season, so hence the February time period where there really aren't the registered events.
So on that same note, do you guys ever host your own competition where you would have more than 80 cars?
I don't envision us having more than that, but if we did, we would have our members double up in the parking space in the areas, and there's plenty of width in the space. I have some photographs that would actually show, and you can tell by the plans, that our members would double up. And so when we have inter-club shoots, so if another club is there, they would park in the normal spaces, and we would, as the Willwood members, would double up.
And how many members would be at that event typically?
It's hard to say, but I can't imagine us having more than 80 parking spaces in the lot at any one time. Because when you're doing an event, we have sporting clays, we have trap, but you're not going to run two things at one time. If you have a registered event, that's what you're doing. You're not doing two different disciplines at the same time,
Okay.
if you're having a registered event.
Understood.
We also are seeking a variance for the width of the driveway in. We have a access road in, driveway in of 20 feet wide. I believe the code requires the 24 feet, so we're seeking a variance of that. And again, we've been in existence since 1955. We've never had the slightest bit of problem with access in and out on the driveway.
And the
We
cars
also-
were a lot wider back then.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Cars were a lot wider.
And we're also seeking the variance for the width of the the width and length of the parking spaces. I believe code requires 20-foot by 10-foot. We're asking for 18 by 9, and the engineers tell us that is perfectly adequate needs for that. We also are asking that we not to have to permanently improve, in other words, pave the parking spaces or the parking lot. This is a rural environment. This is a gun club. Really would be out of character to have to pave all that, and it'd be a very large area to be paved. And again, we've been there since 1955. It's a graveled surface.
Yeah, without any changes.
What's that?
Without any changes or
Correct.
updates. Okay. Did you have anything to add? Okay, no, I'll open it up to the board. I didn't know if you wanted to present anything. Rose?
The event that you're going to in Rochester, how many people will be there?
That's a very big event. That's the New York State Championship, and that's a vastly larger club. Our club could never hope to entertain an event of that size. There's probably going to be 500 shooters at that event. Rochester Brooks Gun Club is a very, very large facility.
What do you envision the maximum would ever be?
I can't imagine us having more than, say, 80 shooters.
Okay, I don't know a lot about shooting, so please forgive me for the questions. They may be silly questions. You did a study between February 14th and June 28th.
Right.
Hunting season's in October, November-ish. Is there any hunting going on
No.
that?
We do not hunt on our property. There are two neighbors that have the 50 acres adjacent to us, and we allow them to hunt on our property, those two guys that are neighbors. So it's a community relations, if you will. We allow them to bow hunt on our property. But no, we don't. Our members don't hunt on the property. There's no program for hunting on the property. We're not a hunting club. We're a shotgun sports club. So we have trap, we have 5-stand, and we have the sporting.
The clay ducks, too? Do you do that clay shooting?
Yeah, they are clay targets that are launched by machines. And I'll explain. Trap is a discipline that the targets come out within a narrow range of approximately a 30-degree angle. They're all rising away, and those are shot from stationary positions. There's 5 positions on each trap field. We have 6 trap fields, but 2 of those are really overlaid on the 5-stand. And then you get into sporting clays, which is and 5-stand is a sort of a version of sporting clays. In sporting clays, the targets can be coming from basically any direction, doing anything. There's a variety of different sizes and shapes of targets. So some of the targets are made to roll across the ground. We have 110 millimeter targets, 90 millimeter targets, 70 millimeter targets. Some that are very flat, and they perform differently and fly at different speeds. And the machines on sporting clays are fully adjustable so that you can tilt them one way or the other, or back or forward, or tip them around. So you can make them perform in curving lines, straight lines, dropping lines, climbing lines. And the shooter has to learn to instantly diagnose the leads and techniques, whereas trap uses more or less one technique. But sporting clays is many different techniques and different leads and different speeds, et cetera.
Okay. I had a question for Greg. This is advertised as a country club. Initially, I thought it was a golf country club. Would they, if they ever changed to a golf country club, would they have to come back for a use variance?
Their permitted use now is country club pursuant to a site plan from
So,
50 some odd, 60 some odd
The
years
previous
ago.
site plan, I don't remember when that was. Were you here at the time, Mr. Kelly?
That predates me by a long
Okay.
way,
I wasn't sure, I just knew that there was a middle one in the 80s, I think, or 90s.
in the 80s, right?
Okay, I didn't know if you were,
so you wouldn't need to come back here for a country club?
they would have to come back here.
You would have to?
No,
'cause-
for a golf country club, I'm sorry.
Yes,
that's
for
what
a
you
golf
mean.
country club.
They would have to come back to lay out the holes and the golf and everything else.
That's planning.
Planning.
Yeah, that's what,
Planning.
we're just talking about the use.
But if we approve this for the 500 spots, this variance remains in effect forever. So they won't need their 500 spots if it becomes a golf club.
The variance runs with the land, whatever variance you grant, but if they come back with a different use that has different parking requirements, they're gonna have to meet the parking requirements in connection with that use, or come back here for a variance from those requirements.
And this property is not at all suitable for a golf course.
No.
Not, and I think Mr. Kanaza could vouch for that. This is,
You pull in a valley and there's a hill that goes up to the right, and that's where they're shooting, is up on top of this
It's good for a
right-side
rock
hill.
quarry.
Okay.
You need the microphone.
You're gonna need a microphone.
Even for an 18-hole, a 9-hole?
The topography's not supportive of it,
No.
Rose. I don't think so.
Still wouldn't? I don't know anything about golf either.
there's 220 feet of elevation difference. 220 feet of elevation difference from the parking lot up to the top. I can't imagine any golf course could operate in a facility like that.
Well, I saw the valley, so I wasn't sure if the golfing would happen in the valley.
Well, but the valley floor is narrow and then goes up very steeply along the sides.
Okay,
No, but it's different. There's gonna be a different.
okay.
And you have the parking.
Not over here, right, on this side, on the west side, and then on the east side of the driveway, there's the easy button.
Okay. No other questions?
Ever used for a biathlon?
Biathlon involves rifle, and
This isn't a rifle club also?
well, there was a rifle range, there is a rifle range there, but it hasn't been used in a number of years. Again, we although the neighbors would perhaps disagree, we try and be good neighbors, and rifles make significantly more noise than does a shotgun. So we have not shot rifles in many, many years there.
Okay, I have nothing further, thank you.
No question. No questions.
No questions.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Sorry. Do you use silencers or anything to reduce the noise?
If you got caught in New York State with a suppressor, that's the proper term, you'd be facing a very stiff jail sentence. So the answer
Interesting, I
is
didn't know that.
no.
Even without the gun, if you have it without the gun?
Even without the gun, you
Yes.
have a problem?
No,
Know
it's
nothing about it?
highly illegal in New York State.
Okay, so there's nothing to suppress noise, there's no,
Well, we do have, this goes to an issue that is before the planning board, and some of the stations, if I may step around, some of these stations up here, they're all numbered. So Station 14 is up here on the edge of the ridge line above the valley. And there's a sound barrier here, and at 13, there's another sound barrier here. And at the suggestion of the planning board, we are proposing to, the sound barrier at present is a we have addressed sound issues. So I don't know if that answers your question.
And why is this coming up now, if you've been doing this for years?
Well, Mr. Carnazza came in and said you need to have a site plan, amend your site plan approval for that. So we were shooting, and now we've stopped at the direction of Mr. Carnazza, and we are presented our amended site plan and have done all of the engineering work for that. But the planning board indicated that you need certain variances, and that's what we are here for this evening.
To answer your question before, you need 75 acres for 9 holes,
Oh, okay.
and I don't think you're near that, right?
We have more than seven, we have
75?
85.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you said a portion of it was DEC, wetlands, so.
Yes.
So the potential, though the topography doesn't quite work, the potential for a 9-hole,
There's just no way you could do it.
It's not conducive.
no, okay.
Topographically, it'd be difficult.
Right. Okay, you guys have anything further?
Just on the width of the driveway going in, it really would be almost impossible to expand that the other 4 feet, because if you're coming in, on the right-hand side, you have steep terrain with rock ledge going in there, and on the other side, you're in the wetlands buffer.
So it'd be costly to blast and widen, bring machine work in?
You'd be working in the buffer either way, so.
And you'd still be in the buffer.
Okay.
Right.
And you guys were pre-existing before that became wetlands and?
Yeah, this has
Protected
been in operation
property.
since 1955.
Okay, so predates our zoning anyway? Right.
That's our zoning.
Yeah.
So they still have to come in, they're not making any changes, but they still have to come in to update this, to go for
They
the
changed it, they put the path up at the top of the hill with the, sorry, I don't remember the name, sporting clay, thank you.
So that's why, because you're
Correct.
expanding the use,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
I don't know if there's variances for it, but it reminds me of the Mayapack Golf Club. That driveway coming in and out, you can't fit 2 cars on it. It's too narrow, and then it leads up to a second larger parking lot that they just put gravel on, and they didn't pave it because it's just a huge space for like overflow. Sounds very similar to that.
And in our driveway, you can easily fit
2.
2 vehicles coming through, and we routinely have semis coming in for delivery of clay targets, so there's no problem about getting big vehicles in there.
And why did you expand the use? Why did you expand?
Sporting clays is a very popular shooting sport these days. There used to be a terrific facility up in Dover that closed down, and it left a void that we are filling here, because there's no place for the serious competitor anymore to practice in this area. This is the only facility really geared towards a tournament shooter, the high-level competition shooter, and we have programs that it's a great asset to the community, and we train young people to shoot at a high level. In fact, we've already got one of our younger shooters got a scholarship for shooting to go to school, and we have a youth team, a coach that teaches that, as well as some not-so-young shooters, myself, who actively compete all around the country, in fact, the world.
So you're really hoping that you get more business?
Well, we're not open to the public. We're a private club, and we're never going to go beyond 250 people because, again, we don't want a guy who's a serious competitor having to stand in line and wait.
Where's the membership base? Is it all Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess?
It's basically Westchester, Putnam.
Okay.
We have some, over the line into Connecticut, so this general area.
Right.
So you gave us the figures through June 28th. What does June 29th through February 14th look like? What does September, October, November look like?
It's going to look exactly like that.
The
I
same kind of
I
business
stopped because I had to prepare the graph.
So on June June, you'd have the same amount of business that you'd have in October, November, September?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, I'll open it up to the public. Do you guys mind just moving that board back so it's viewable for the camera? Just actually put it on an angle this way. Oh, you have one over there. Okay. All right, ma'am. State your name and address for the record, and I'll swear you in. Just turn the mic down, please.
My name is Patricia Perez, 507 Union Valley Road in Mahopac.
Okay, raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Good evening. I'm here representing my husband and myself, Robert Federico. We've been neighbors with the gun club for about almost 30 years. I want to make you aware of a couple of things. Obviously, this request for a variance is related to the site, amendment site in front of the planning board. Obviously, the two things are linked. A group of neighbors, we got together and we signed a petition, about 60 neighbors of the Willowwood Gun Club, and submitted this petition with a letter to the chairman of the planning board. I don't know if you were aware of this.
No.
May I give you a copy of the letter?
Sure.
I do not have a copy of the petition, the signed petition from the neighbors of Willowwood Gun Club. I need to make you aware what it is to have Willowwood Gun Club as a neighbor. This part of Union Valley Road and the roads around us, you would say it's pretty rural. So some of us have number of acres. Obviously, Willowwood has about 95 acres. And I know they've been around since 1955. We're not disputing that. What we are concerned about is allowing the gun club to actually increase its membership, because that would have an impact, a further impact on our quality of life issues for the neighbors of Willowwood Gun Club. The noise pollution is unacceptable. They're shooting 4 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday is when most of the neighbors would like to enjoy the outdoors. There's been some days that I have gone back inside the house and closed the windows. Probably they had an event. It's very difficult to live close to them. I'm not going to say that we're close neighbors. I have tried to open the communication with them several times since 2016, since they requested and they were approved for the tree cutting, which was preemptive to all these requests that are present into this board and the planning board. I want to tell you why my family and I oppose the approval of this variance. Obviously, if you approve this variance, it would be the next step would be to the expansion to the club. That would impact our quality of life issues because of the noise pollution. Our home values have been impacted. I have spoken with a neighbor who is also in real estate, and there was a buyer looking at a house on Englewood Terrace on a weekend. When he was looking outside, he asked, "What is that noise?" And it was explained that is the gun club, and he said, "I can't live here." So they walked away. I have some concerns, and I would like to ask a question to Mr. Carnasa if it's appropriate for me. Thank you for addressing the sound issue with Willowwood on our behalf. I want to tell you that the existing sound barriers are not enough to help us with the sound issue. I believe I heard the secretary of the club say that they have stopped shooting That is not correct. They were shooting today, they were shooting yesterday, they were shooting last weekend.
I think what he was saying, and I think he said they stopped shooting on top of the hill, but they're still using the bottom trap area.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know the difference, and I don't mean the bottom
Okay.
area they still use, but they stopped using the area that we gave them the cease order.
I understand.
think that's
Thank
what
you
they
for
said.
clarifying that. I just wanted to make you aware. I'm bringing concerns that why would you grant this business in the middle of a residential area a variance of 420 parking spaces? If it was a business anywhere else in town that requires this number of parking spaces, why would you grant, I'm sure you would not grant that business the variance because the parking spaces are needed as code.
Just keep in mind, that's a different situation. That's a commercial establishment that you're speaking of in a different vein. This is a private membership.
It is,
There's a
but
difference.
it's in the middle of a residential area. So if you're going to grant them a variance, obviously the gun club is going to save a lot of money by not expanding the parking facilities or not widening the driveway. I mean, they had the chance to probably widen the driveway when they did the tree cutting, but of course, it's a gun club. They're probably looking to save money. So my concern is, to me, it's a business in the residential area. Call it commercial or non-commercial, but they're acting like a business. Okay? They're selling ammunition. They're having events. They're charged for the membership. So to me, it is a business. So that's why I'm bringing these concerns to you. Another concern that I have is we have never measured the decibel levels of the noise when they're shooting Thursday through Sunday. I know we have noise ordinance. I don't know what the decibel levels are, but I have to tell you, you would think that by having hypertopography and valleys, the noise would be less. Well, noise travels very strangely when it goes up a hill. I'm not that close to the gun club. There is a ridge that separates us, but I hear them like they're next to me. I had ducked a couple of times. They were shooting pistols about 6 months ago. I think they stopped doing that. The first time I heard that those pistols, I actually went to the ground in my driveway. This is how the noise frightened me to that extent. Another thing I want to make you aware of is, for the sake of good neighbors, I used to have kind of a relationship with previous board members. We were always assured that there was no hunting in their property. The property for most of the place is posted, but now I hear that they do allow some hunting. One person is hunting. Even if they're not members of the club, they're allowing neighbors to hunt, so they're allowing hunting in their property. That concerns me tremendously as well, because I don't know where they're hunting. They could be hunting right behind my property, not within the number of feet that is required by code. I would like you to please consider all the neighbors that are submitting the signatures to the planning board. So if you can please try to look at the big picture. The club is in existence, we cannot deny that. But if you approve this variance, you are approving basically an increase in membership, which would affect the the neighbors directly. That's what I'm here with my concerns to you.
Okay. And that letter that you submitted was submitted to the planning
The
board?
planning board.
With a petition signed?
With a petition
Okay,
signed.
We didn't see a copy of the signatures, but,
Yeah, I don't have the copy of the signatures, but the planning board does have it.
okay.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
thank you.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Anybody else wish to speak on this application? Wait. Sir?
Mike, what's in front of the planning board right now?
Site plan for the expansion of the upper range, whatever they call that again.
And what issues does that entail? Like, what does that include? Does that include sound barriers? Does that include
There were a few sound barriers that they were proposing,
just for the upper range?
just for the upper range. They were a berm with some plantings on it was one of them. Maybe Mr. Calganini can explain it a little better for you.
But that's part of what's in front of the planning board?
That's correct.
Is the parking in front of the planning board?
Of course, that's part
Right,
of the site
that's why
plan.
we're here.
Yep.
Okay.
But Michael, I got a follow-up question. So there was a stop order issued because some work was already done?
Oh, it's
Something-
there already,
Yeah, okay.
So the improvements were done and completed?
completed, and using it.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is John Urek. I'm a resident of 18 Fox Hill Road, over 25 years.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
It's all about being a good neighbor. I'm just quoting.
Please address the
member-
board, though.
Member of Willowwood Shooting Club, and good neighbor doesn't illegally erect new shooting grounds and leave neighbors totally vulnerable to tremendous sound increase. Actually, it's all about upper elevations where Whalewood members start shooting since they clear probably close to 400 trees, and basically they erected new shooting locations, and those locations are totally unprotected from don't protect neighbors from sound noise, in opposed to original locations which are somewhat protected, right? And that noise, I agree with that probably thanks to our inspector, the noise level sort of decreased over the period of 3 months, let's say 2-3 months. Probably stop orders been issued, and we all concern that increasing membership is going to change our lives. Our lives been held last 3 years almost since they started using that unprotected locations for their activities, and the number of membership increases from 200 to 250. We're talking about percentage-wise, it's quite significant, right? And this is private club, but if you read the policy of the club, every member can bring more or less unlimited number of guests. So it's not only members. The guests can come in at nominal fee, and like over the weekend, we're talking about shooting noise every few seconds, all day long, starting 10 o'clock, ending 5-6 o'clock. Let's say, I would just give you the picture of what we're doing here. I'm the owner of single-family lot. If I build another house on that lot, well, what would you do? Would you grant me variance that I can keep that second house on my lot, or you would rather say, take it apart, demolish it? And this establishment pretty much what they did, they multiplied the business. It's Willowwood 1, Willowwood 2, probably is going to be Willowwood 3, and all has been done quietly. I don't think that our building inspector knew about that. Probably he didn't. And now we're trying to legalize everything.
Are you suggesting that the noise over the last 3 years has increased because they cut down 400 trees?
Yes, and also location where they're shooting from, that increased the noise level tenfold, at least. It's basically staying outdoors, it's impossible, and even going inside the house doesn't help you much. depends where you are. And I would say it's about 200 houses affected by this. It's changed. Sometimes, some people which are 200 feet away, they are maybe not as much affected as people elevated 500 feet away. I mean, there's no study, no studies being conducted how decibel-wise, how big that noise is, but it's huge. I mean, we have recording, telephone recording, I don't know how good it is, but we have recording over, like last few years, and many of us stop by at the building department to complain. I mean, it's probably hundreds of complaints over the last 2-3 years, and well, finally it worked because we have result of our complaints. The activity at unprotected location has stopped, and but I would say it stopped because it's been the lawyer advised the members not to use the location to basically we are looking for a positive result of appeals. I mean, the action at your board and the planning board as well. Sorry about my being there, but actually I'm deeply affected by this, and my life has been really over the course of a few years. It's been. I mean, I can't use my house as I used to. I can't enjoy things I used to do, and I'm really just nervous about that. I can't imagine what's going to happen if you approve what the Willowwood is looking for, to increase the membership, increase their activity, and how it's going to affect our lives. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Good evening. State your name and address for the record, please.
Eileen Martinelli,
Turn this down.
491 Union Valley Road. I live by the gun club. I've lived there since...
Do me a favor.
Hello?
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
I've lived in that house on Union Valley Road since '86. Until those trees were cut down, when the shooting went on, it was like an echo. It didn't stop anybody from doing anything outside. It was a noise that you kind of got used to, and it sounded like an echo. It now sounds like a war. And as the gentleman said, you absolutely cannot sit outside in your yard. The noise is that loud. Apparently, because the trees came down, I don't know if they ever got a permit to take the trees down, or it was done without. But the noise is unbearable, and he's right. It has affected the property values of all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard from the public on this application? Good evening.
Good evening.
State your name and address for the record.
I live on Englewood Terrace. My name is
Jimmy.
Zygmunt Pastuszka. And
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to express the same concerns as the persons that spoke before me. I just want to ask you, do you want to really allow it, seeing, such a opposition from residents, taxpayers? These people are outsiders. They come here, they make noise, they have fun, and they leave. They increase traffic, noise pollution, and they may have make unhappy few hundreds people, And some people are even scared. When they started shooting from these new illegally erected installations, my daughter approached me and she says, "Daddy, what is it?" I said, "I don't know. Maybe our neighbor is shooting his gun because it sounded like 2 houses away." And then I called police. I complained. We found out that it's the new installations they erected illegally. And so she asked me, what if the gunman comes here and starts shooting? Because it's a child. She was 11 back then. So they think differently, but she didn't want to go outside. So it's not only like a few hundred houses, but there's more people living in these houses. And maybe a lot of children don't even ask that question as my daughter did. But that's what it is. We are residents of this town. We pay taxes here. And they are looking for expansion of a parking lot, but eventually they are creeping to that, idea of expanding the shooting installations. And they erected it on top of the hills. So before, it was only on the bottom. You had vegetation, so it muffled the sound. Now on top, it travels across the valley. So, I don't know. I'm begging you, let them have what they had. I lived in this house for over 20 years. I didn't complain 5 years ago. I didn't complain 10 years ago.
So you feel it's gotten worse in the last three years?
It's
4
like
years?
I'm closing the doors on sunny day. I'm turning on TV and I hear it. Sometimes I pretend that I have to do something in town. I jump in a car and I leave. That's really, 4 days a week. 4 days a week. Saturday morning, you maybe want to sleep a little bit longer. No, the guns wake you up.
Mike, is there a certain
And
time restriction?
I would have to check that. I don't.
No,
recall.
8
It was
o'clock.
on the old site plan that we're.
8 o'clock, it's like war zone. It's war
So
zone.
you hear it that early, 8 o'clock?
And I'm gonna tell you one more story. Coincidentally, I called a guy, the well specialist, because we have a little bit problem with water. He came, we talk about the well, and we hear the guns. And he says, "Oh, it's pretty annoying, huh?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "They called me to give them estimate on sound barriers." But he says, "This sound barriers gonna do the same what holy water does for the dead." That's what he said. So he's an expert. He told me that. So them talking about sound barriers on the installations they developed illegally in first place. Again, please side with us because we are residents of this town. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right, anybody else wish to be heard from the public on this application? Going once, going twice. All right, counsel, I'll afford you the opportunity to.
Yes, thank you. I would like to respond to some of these issues, and I'm going to go back in reverse order on my notes as I flip through them. The gentleman just spoke and claimed that we shoot at 8 o'clock. The earliest we start, the earliest day that we start is 10 o'clock. So that is just plain wrong. Never happened. The issue about getting an estimate from some well driller, I can assure you, I'm the one who heads the Sporting Clays operation. We never contacted any well driller about the sound barriers. We erected the sound barriers ourselves after consultations with engineers. That's whoever told him that is just not telling him an accurate state of facts. In terms of the trees, we went to the Environmental Conservation Board and obtained the permits to cut all the trees that were cut. Furthermore, the trees that were cut are on the other side.
Hold on, Mike, is that true? Is there a file?
Yes. Right.
How many trees was it?
It was a large number of trees. Do you remember, Mike? I don't remember the exact.
Upwards of 400.
It was a large number of trees that were cut.
Substantial number.
But those trees are cut on the other side of the mountain. So there's a ridge line in the mountain, and the tree cutting was done on the opposite side of the mountain from Union Valley. So that's not affecting it whatsoever in terms of that.
Why did you cut them down?
When?
No, why?
What was the purpose for doing it? Just curious.
A, to raise money. We harvested the wood, and we, sold it for a profit, to raise money for the club, and to clear the land for the shooting. So, and that was explained to the Environmental Conservation Board at the time.
Thank you.
And by the way, Ms. Perez was there, and she opposed our tree cutting application. I haven't seen the letter that she's talking about, so I don't know what's in that letter that she submitted there. There was a claim that,
I can read it for the record if you want. So, this went to the planning board, not to this board. Dear Chairman and board members, we would like to bring to your attention the board alarming activity at Willowwood Club. Over the course of the past few years, the frequency and intensity of the noise produced by this entity has increased several-fold. Willowwood Club illegally erected new shooting locations at its upper grounds to accommodate growing membership and guests. To make matters even worse, close to 400 trees have been cut by the club, trees which had been acting as natural sound barriers. Shooting noises from new locations is more reminiscent of an artillery range than a sports club range. It's become unbearable for neighboring residents to the point we strongly fear our physical and mental health is heavily impacted and endangered by being exposed to this activity. Willowwood Country Club has robbed its neighboring residents of the peace and tranquility which this community is known for. We ask this board, not this board, again planning, to immediately prevent Willowwood Club from using new illegally erected locations for shooting. Operations at the original location should be stopped until the effectiveness of the old sound barriers is verified and the town of Carmel makes sure it complies with today's environmental standards. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, the surrounding residents of Willowwood Country Club. See attached signatures. Again, we don't have the signatures, so, but that's for the record.
so, and I would point out that the noise issues are perfectly valid issues for the neighbors to raise before the planning board. I really don't believe that that's a proper issue on the issues that are here before the board, which is the variance of parking, width of the driveway, etc. One of the people that spoke here claimed that we're shooting pistols. That is absolutely, positively not true. If somebody was shooting pistols in that neighborhood, they were not doing it on our property. There was an incident some months back where somebody off Shenandoah, which is the property to, I guess that would be east of us, was shooting rifles up there. It was not on our property, and I believe the police responded to that. But there is no rifle shooting and there is no pistol shooting on our property. So again, the claim that somebody's doing that, not on our, it just doesn't happen on our property. One of the neighbors spoke and claimed that we could have widened the driveway when we harvested the trees. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. The trees weren't cut anywhere near the driveway, first of all. And second of all, the lumber companies cut trees. They don't dig roads and things other than to make their logging roads or skid trails. That would not have been encompassed by or permitted by the Environmental Conservation Board in connection with any tree cutting. And where we are now, we really would not be able to widen the road because of the buffer area, the steepness of the area, and the rock ledge that is basically throughout the area. In terms of the hunting, the gentlemen that own the 50 acres that are adjacent to us to the west, they bought that 50 acres to hunt on. They're hunting over there anyway. The fact that we allow them to come somewhat onto our property is pretty much meaningless in terms of the issues here or even issues before the planning board.
And you stated earlier they were bow hunting though, not gun
Correct.
hunting, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they are, as far as I know, they are hunting purely with the bows up there. And by the way, the tree issue from our station 14 and 13, from there all the way to the houses on Union Valley, that has not been touched. that is still a heavily wooded area, and that's at the highest elevation, so that area is still mature woodland up there, blocking sound, et cetera. And in terms of, again, the noise is not properly an issue for this board, but again, that's an issue that should be before the planning board, and we're addressing that as part of our operations to enhance the quality of the sound barriers on those stations that are closest towards Union Valley and that are the higher elevations. If there's any questions, I'd like to entertain them.
You had mentioned before that another range was closed in Dover,
Dover.
and your hope was that you would expand somewhat your own facility.
Well, to have sporting clays so that those people that were the competitors
down.
who were displaced have a place to shoot.
And then you said you only could have a maximum of 250 people,
That's our self-imposed,
self-imposed?
self-imposed.
If you have 250 people, but you only have 80 parking spots, you're going to run into a problem.
No, that's just not the nature of this. We rarely ever get more than a handful of people. You can see from the charges over there, the most we've ever had in the months that I've been doing the survey is 36 parking spaces. The reality is, we now have 200 members. Of those 200 members, a large majority of them come to the club maybe once a year. It's only a handful of people that shoot, the competitors who shoot all the time on 4 days a week. So if you go into our club, the parking lot has very few cars, and that's always been the situation, will always remain the situation, because you never are going to have all members there at one time.
How long ago did Dover close?
2 years.
About
2
20,
years.
no, it's more than 2 years ago. It's probably 2015, maybe? About 2015, I think.
2015, so 4 years ago.
I think it was in the third year.
And you've picked up some of those Dover people already? Yeah, I
A little
assume.
bit, no, yeah.
But your hope is you're going to pick up more of them?
Well, our hope is that we're going to expand up to in the neighborhood of 250.
Is that all you have?
Yes.
All right, at this point, I'm going to look for a motion to close
Wait,
the
hold
public.
on, I have a couple more questions, I'm sorry, John. I know you were talking about the sound before, and you were saying that that's not really necessarily purview, but in the event that, really, two of the reasons why you're here, one is because there was something that was built that shouldn't have been built and was not on your site plan, correct?
Well, that's an issue that Mr. Carnaz and I have a disagreement on. I believe that we have a right to shoot basically anywhere on our property. Mr. Carnaz
But you
disagrees with
built
me on that.
structures used
No.
for that shooting in that
There's no-
top level?
There's no structures.
Well,
These structures, they're just low decks, like a deck type platform? Is that
There's cages we shoot from
Improvements.
for safety features, and people can pick them up and
Okay.
move them. They're not attached.
Okay.
Not attached.
Okay, fair enough. Second, regarding the sound, you're going to have more, really, because the other part of this variance is the parking, because now you're increasing your membership by 50, and of course, then the code kicked you out again to have you come back to us, because your original variance was for the 200 members originally, back in 1980, whenever that was, 83. So with increased members, you would have more members per day there. It may be one, it may be two, but you may have more, correct?
If you increased the count by 25%, which would be...
Which is what we're looking at.
So 36%, I'm sorry, 25% of 36, you're still way below the 80.
Understood, but there's still, and that wasn't my point. My point was, but there would be more people there, which would then increase the sound because there would be more people shooting.
It would increase the frequency of sound, but not the volume of sound.
Okay. Thank you.
No, I have no further questions.
All right, any other board members have any other questions?
No questions.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you.
Look for a motion to close the public hearing on this
Motion-
application.
Motion to close.
Second. by Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no further input, please. Last case tonight is Mr. Basharat. This is Giuseppe Giamo. I read it earlier, I'm not gonna read it again.
Good evening.
Good evening, Willie.
Willie
Address
Basharat, represented Giamos,
and your address?
266 Sheer Hill Road, Mayapack.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Bring us through it, please.
This house has been sold for the purpose of downsizing. The family grew and the Giamos had already moved to New York City, to an apartment, nice place to retire. Not to retire, but to downsize. But as a result of selling this house, few issues came up, and one of them was the shed on the property. It exists too close to the property line. It's a small shed. It's basically under 100 square feet, like 80-plus square feet. It's tucked in the corner of the property, does not create impact on anybody else. And if members of the board gone to the property, you could see it is beyond immaculately landscaped. And where the shed is located, it's really a proper location for it. Again, I'm going to say that it really doesn't impact anybody of the neighbors. There are no property available to locate the shed anywhere else where it does not need a variance. On the property itself, removing and relocating the shed will create a really negative impact on the house, and in effect will be on the neighborhood. But again, I'm gonna say, if any members of the board has gone out there, you see where the shed is. It's heavily wooded and screened all around it.
It's wooded in the back.
Exactly. You
Totally.
cannot see it. You really barely see it even when you are in the backyard.
Neighbors on both sides, no issues?
Not that we know of. No, they have been notified, and I think Mr. Giamo spoke to one of them that he knows, and he said he had no problem.
There's no property they can buy to bring it into conformance?
No, nothing's available. There are houses on all sides of it.
Okay, most interesting shed I've ever seen.
Isn't it?
It's a beautiful shed.
Actually, it was I think it was built just to blend in, and they cut the
seems
corner
like
off
it,
and made
yep.
it like a 5-sided shed.
Bizarre.
Okay, board members?
No questions.
No question.
No
Bill.
questions, thank you.
No questions.
Thank you very much, and I apologize about being late. The dentist took a lot longer than I anticipated.
Don't let it happen again.
All right, anybody in the public have any input or questions on this application? I'll look for a motion to close the hearing on this
So moved.
application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
At this point, I think we're going to take a break, and we will be back momentarily.
Oh, you got the last part of it? Okay. So this is the,
I think I have it in my planning board file if you guys need a copy. I can email it.
no, it's fine. I'll put it in, yeah, this is the file.
Only you or
John.
Yeah, if you can.
I'll put it,
right?
All right, see, I can't see it. Did you do it?
Ready to go?
We're good.
All right, welcome back. I'm going to remind everybody, there's no more input from the public on any application tonight, so please keep it at bay. All right, let's vote on the applications. We'll keep in order on how the agenda is. So for the first application, Catherine Vesci, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant?
Second.
All, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so that carries. Number 2, Kenneth Kramer, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant?
second.
Seconded by Silvio. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, granted. Number 3, Giuseppe Giamo, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to grant.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Did you grant number 2?
Yes,
Thank you.
unanimous.
And final application, Willowwood Country Club, I'll look for a motion.
Okay, I'm going to take this piecemeal for the 4 that's being requested.
You have to make a motion first, right?
Right.
Okay.
So, motion to grant the variance for the width and length of parking spaces. Motion to grant the variance requested for the variance of 4 feet for the width of the access drive. Motion to grant the off-street parking without permanent improvement to the gravel parking area. Motion to deny the variance requesting 422 parking spaces.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Rose, Silvio. All right, any discussions?
Discussion, the 3 that were granted are ones that we've seen before, maybe not the gravel as much, but the others, and that's something that is readily that we do grant, and there are no issues that I could see. Regarding the factors to consider for an area variance, regarding the parking spaces, in no particular order, regarding the factors that we need to consider. Is the alleged difficulty self-created? I believe that's a yes. Is the proposed variance substantial? I believe that's a resounding yes. It's actually 84%. Can any other method be used that does not require a variance but still allow for the benefit requested? The applicant really didn't speak to this. I believe it would be his burden to do so, but even if there's plenty of land there, regarding will an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties be created by granting of the variance, we're not here to discuss any noise complaints or the shooting of shotguns or any other firearms. So we're here regarding the parking spaces. I don't believe that's an issue. And then the last one, will the proposed variance have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? I don't believe that comes into play either. The survey that was provided by the applicant is self-serving, I believe, and incomplete. It wasn't done by anyone with any other expertise of any kind. So based on the 5 factors that we need to consider, I don't believe that upon the consideration of the 5 factors and the findings, or at least my opinion regarding the substantial variance requested and that it was self-created and that there are other methods, I would say that the application should be denied.
That portion.
That portion.
Okay. Any other discussions or motions? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Mark?
For Philip's motion.
For Phil's motion.
Four.
4?
4.
And I'm for it as well. So that carries as such, and that's that.
Minutes, we have minutes.
Minutes from June 27th, 2019. I'll look for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Have a safe summer, and we'll see you fourth Thursday in August.
What's this thing?
Give your folders back.